Hey everybody, welcome back to another story by Foolery. If you like my channel, like and subscribe, and write in the comments below any ideas that you would have for a story to go to sleep to. Leroy Higgs, 100% success rate by Foolery. Space. It's beautiful and empty. Silent only for the hum of the antimatter drive and the musical beeps of the various control panels in front of me. This rig is an Un Pen Lore 6200 single transport vessel, shaped like a paper airplane with a huge reinforced tip, all smooth and sleek, with a half-dome transparent roofing right over where I sit. No weapons, but that's not why I chose this ride. It had a special quality other ships didn't have, one that I felt a relation to. It's cramped. I wonder how much comfort this vessel could give a human not wearing a full-body, armored exosuit. I was coming up on the planet K-Talar 3. What a wasteland. The whole planet's farscape was shit-colored. The peaceful hum of the ship was replaced with rattling bolts and blowtorch sounds as I entered the upper atmosphere. I tilted up the nose to drag off some speed. Not too much, just enough to bring me under 1,000 miles per hour. I needed to come in way hot. My overhead console alerted loudly that a hail was coming through. I reached up and punched accept. Turn your ship around. You are not Keltalar and not welcome in our sanctuary. Hello. Can't really hear you. Could you say again? I said, sounding as polite as I'm capable of sounding. Just a few more seconds. I was speeding towards a little blip on a tracker panel and closing fast. I said, get off our planet. You are not welcome. I pictured a puny, upright, lemur-looking Keltalar stomping his feet and waving his arms as he whined. I laughed at him aloud. Too late, I said, probably not loud enough for him to hear. Bringing my right fist down on a panel that I had just installed. Power surged from the antimatter core, but instead of going to the engines, I had rerouted it to the inertial dampeners. They would never hold that much power, of course, and would likely fry, but for about 1.5 seconds, they would work at 1,000 times max efficiency. The alert sounded that I had been locked onto just as the power hit the inertial dampeners with a zapping sound that filled and echoed the ship. Instantly, I felt as though I was weightless and still, like being trapped in the center of a vacuum. I watched out of the ship's roofing as the ship passed through a force field, successfully dispersing it, and then right into a block-stone structure about the perimeter of a quarter block and 10 standard stories tall. That was the architecture common of this shithole. I hit right at mid-level and smashed through dozens of feet before the metallic support structures of the interior stopped my ship dead. I heard the fizzle of the inertial dampeners. They would definitely never work again. Moments later, about a dozen Keltalar clambered over debris and surrounded the ship. My console still alerted that an incoming projectile was closing proximity. I smiled and raised my hand in a sarcastic surrender. 3, 2, I smashed down on the shield emitter's console pad. I'm sure at least one of them are still working. My vessel's shields kicked out with a wave with a blue light, causing the Keltalar to back up and all raise their weapons. I waved goodbye and winked as a photon torpedo smashed into the building near the wrecked entrance I had made. Without inertial dampeners, it was a rough 2 seconds, and I knew my next move would hurt. A lot. And I could possibly black out, but that hardly ever happens. I launched through the explosion that engulfed half the building, plowing through concrete and mangled steel, shooting out of the other end I was laughing hysterically at the adrenaline and the mess I was leaving behind. The blip of my screen was gone. That meant dollar signs. 200 feet out of the building, I pulled up to exit towards the upper atmosphere, and all went silent. All power, all control, all everything went dark except for the dull blue of the sky. The ship fell ass first to the ground and hit hard, tilting for a few seconds before coming down with a crash on its belly. Time passed before I came to. What the hell? I ran a few simulations before I came all the way out here, and the readouts said the ship could likely stand most of what I planned on putting it through. Hadn't really counted on the photon torpedo. These were these were little animal-y guys. You'd think their weaponry would be more on the cute side. I tried the compression override for the roofing portal. Nothing. I double-tapped my side thigh and a panel opened up with 3 cartridges. I pulled out one and shut the panel. Reaching up over my back, I drew my sword rifle and loaded the cartridge. Not having a lot of room to move, I braced the sword rifle on the tip of the seat between my legs and pulled the trigger. The explosion was near deafening, and I would have been full deaf if not for the helmet. I blew the porthole wide open, and I quickly freed myself from the wreckage. The gravity here was noticeably less than of G standard. I felt as though I could have weighed maybe 60 pounds here. Looking back the way I came, all that could be seen was a pile of rubble and lots of smoke. It's the way most things look after I've passed through. I started a half walk, half leap like a superhero away and had made it about 50 meters toward the compound of the same architecture. I could see in the distance when another photon torpedo came out of the sky and slammed into my wrecked ship like a meteor. I was in mid-leap at about 25 miles per hour easy when the explosion knocked me forward and I skid flat on my face 20 feet before coming to a stop. In moments, I was completely engulfed in the desert dust that wept up from the shockwave. It had been enough for me to smash my nose in the front of the helmet, and I tasted blood as it poured from my face. My air came from the suit, so I was fine in that area, if not a little more than pissed to see that my visor had cracked. Not all the way through, but it would cost a few 100 credits to replace whenever I got back. Maybe I'd add it to his charge, since the militia of this target was grossly underplayed. If I had known where those torpedoes had come from, I'd kill everyone in there. I knew that likely they would send out some drones, but they didn't have satellites, and mostly I believe that they relied on cheap radar. The crappy planet didn't even have roads, just trails made from land vehicles. Doubt I'm in for any more of those torpedoes, I thought as I tried to dust myself off. I continued toward the compound. As I got close, I could see a jeep, like an automobile. I was going to need that. Plan B of getting off this shit rock was to board some dirty smuggler's rig with some stealth, wait for an open space, kill dirty smugglers, and sell the cargo, because why wouldn't I? And get back to claim my bounty from Terezi Bloss, a Alnarian drug lord. He'd take my word on it that the target's dead. There was nothing left of proof of death from that pile of burnt critter victuals. The days here were only about 6.3 standard hours long, and the light was already fading when I reached the compound. I had crossed open desert to get here, and even though they didn't have radar, they were not all blind. I'm sure they see me coming from miles away. I turned on my augmented reality on my cracked visor. My view now showed the outline of solid objects and upside-down triangular tiny shapes indicated there were about 20 Keltalar, evenly spaced throughout the building. I assumed the even spacing indicates they're waiting at the building's windows for me to come into range. I wasn't going to underestimate their weaponry potential this time. I stood at what I believed to be the right line between safety and all-out energy fire. I opened a panel on my wrist. My favorite button was there. Little, blue, and without print. I pressed it affectionately. I felt the end of a needle pierce the back of my neck, and a warm feeling like love filled my belly. A second later, the helm started playing my favorite heavy metal playlist as my whole body jived with the drugs at ever-increasing speed of heartbeats. A second needle hit. Hormones. My vision became so sharp that I could see the fragments of dust in the air around me as time slowed down. They looked like sparkling lost stars. Third and final sting. The good stuff. A mix of DMT, LSD, and psilocybin. It would take a few minutes to start having an effect, but this was going to build to a murderous crescendo. I launched from my spot, standing at an angle that would have landed me face first in standard G. Both the low gravity and the drug cocktail my suit just gave me, added with the strength-enhancing abilities of the suit itself, I was practically gliding towards the compound at 70 miles an hour. I seen lights from the compound and knew it to be energy fire. Energy didn't travel at the speed of light, more closely to the speed of a bullet, and in my current state, nothing at even the speed of a bullet could hit me. I dodged around them in zigzag fashion as ground around me exploded over and over, practically in front dusty yard. The ground in front of me exploded in something much more powerful than a standard energy rifle. I leapt right over the explosion, tucked into a ball, and right into a window, bowling over a stunned Keltalar. All the shooting stopped. The being trying to recover as I stuck the full mass of my sword rifle through its chest. With a twist of the blade and a spin, it tore the creature in two. I heard the others approaching. As the first reached the door of the room, I kicked it off its hinges, practically splattering a Keltalar agent at the adjacent wall. As the door fell away, he slid down to his ass, his head leaving a trail of smudged blood and brain tissue. I was down the hall before I seen another. He barely had time to look shocked as I split a skull in an axe swing. Kicking him back and down the stairs as he tumbled, I followed right behind. His contorted body caused three others to look and gape as I reached the bottom. In one swing, I sliced two of them across the chest and then the belly, kicking the other back as he tried to raise his rifle. I came back over the two with another one strike, neck to neck. The Keltalar I kicked was no sissy. He rolled back and fired before I could reach him. A look of pure horror as I deflected it with the broadside of my sword was priceless. I left him there in his pea-soaked tunic. On this level, the remaining Keltalar had regrouped, and each had taken defensive positions in the doorways and the corners at the end of the hall. This is where the drugs hit their peak. My world began to swirl with geometric patterns. The hallway began to grow wide and shrink in length. Keltalar began morphing into grotesque beasts of the most imaginative of fashions. Fur became scale, teeth and nails grew inches long. Gravity and limitations became nothing more than suggestions as I began my dash down the hall of death. Light blasts came from the monster's hands. I ran right through them and felt nothing. A beast slashed at me with vicious claws. I cut him down and leapt onto the wall, still running as if it was the new ground. I leapt right over the door hole, decapitating another as rainbows shot out of its neck. I leapt onto the opposing wall and continued my terror. I reached the end, leaving nothing but silence behind me. I began walking down the second to last set of stairs towards the ground level. I had to really concentrate on the music in my helmet to keep me half sane. The walls were mouthing something at me and laughing. I reached the next level. I tapped my helmet, pausing the music and listening for any sound. I could hear panic beneath me. At least two somethings were down there. Sounds like frogs singing. Screamo. I listened even harder. A heartbeat like a hummingbird wings. Wait, that's mine. Come on, Leroy. Maintain, man. Whew. Listening even harder, another heartbeat. Heavy breathing. That's a Keltalar hiding in the room to my right. I just walked in. The view was walls that breathed and windows that traveled. Windows that traveled the walls. In the center of the room, as a lemur with big cute eyes and cute sharp buck teeth was sitting there. The lemur was holding a Yo Mama KO edition chrome-plated energy rocket launcher. I've always wanted one of those. Is that for me? I asked the funny animal. It blinked strangely at me. Nocta hook, Batana Montaro, Hiantilili, it said to me. Or asked of me, or something. Sorry, little buddy, I don't speak lemur, I said to him, my friendly voice. It raised the rocket launcher and pointed it at me. Whoa, now, little fella, careful. You shoot that in here, and you bring this whole building down. And then I realized that this was probably not a lemur after all, and bringing down the building would not work fine in his favor, or mine, but, fuck it. Shoot me, or I'll kill you and make boots of your adorable animal pelt. I raised my sword antagonistically in its direction. Wortha Torah la Benaltido, it screamed at me. Flash from the barrel. I turned sideways and let the energy blast pass right by me. Light, like lightning, I dashed. Spinning around the lemur, I dove out of the second-story window as the explosion blew out behind me. My landing was not graceful, but in my defense, I thought I was flying, and for a second, I started flapping my arm wings. As I lay flat on my face for the second time today. Meant to do that, I said aloud. But I don't actually think anyone was around alive to hear it. I heard and felt the building implode inward on itself behind me as I got to my feet. Surely killing anyone left inside was probably looking really cool from the right angle. I looked around for the land vehicle. Shit was starting to get weird. The landscape had become green and lush. A pond was now right out in front of me, complete with a sexy mermaid brushing her hair and looking at me with big, pretty fish eyes. I couldn't tell if my music was actually still playing in my helmet or not. I felt for the panel on my left arm. Like the right arm panel, it also held only one labelless button. This one was white. I hit it and felt another stick in my neck, and a calm washed over me. Whew, damn, that's nice. It was a mix of Valium and THC. The first canceling out the hallucinogenics and helped the latter to ease the rush of everything else. Time again ran at its normal pace, and I realized conclusively that my music was not still playing. Funny trip. I spotted the vehicle now, dusty but unscathed in a desert landscape. But by morning, I was halfway home in my stolen cargo vessel. I wasn't going to be making any money off the merch that was being hauled. First chance I had, I peeked in to see the goods. Just a bunch of data chips. I pulled out a few and sat down to check out their contents. I hoped for a weapon Maybe a hollow novel data of some kind? Nope. What I seen was burnt into my retina for life. Tentacle porn and smut of all alien taboos. Compilations of it. Gross. But probably worth at least a little credits. I'll have Yana take them to be appraised. She's my secretary. Only chick in this galaxy who can hold her own with a bust-mogg Xander lizard in a meat and mead contest. It really happened. Arriving back at my home base planet, Snagnos Prime, a nice enough planet on the outside, neat little cities separated by miles of farms and giant bodies of water. The planet was terraformed hundreds of years ago and had thrived as a beautiful farming world. One side of the planet is almost entirely flat, whereas the other side has an ever-rising peak, starting small at its equinox and ending at the North Pole in a massive 10-mile-high peak near coordinate 00. The planet actually gets interesting. Deep in the mountainous snowy range, hidden ever so perfectly from prying eyes, is the holy grail of underwater odyssey. Flying my stolen cargo vessel down into this cavernous valley, I sent out a coded message that would be ignored by any on the surface. The bottom of the cavern, stony and barren, shimmered as hollow emitters cut out its illusion. Like megalith sliding doors. As I fell far below sea level, the world underground was an empty impression that seemed to go on for miles in every direction. An entire, loud, dirty city was here, with 100,000 lights like stars hung on metal poles on the cave's ceilings. You couldn't just fly a ship of any kind in here. Even in a den of thieves and mischiefs, there were still rules. I landed on a platform that had guided itself to meet me, and my landing gear extended and the platform guided the ship into a hangar. From there, I exited the ship, and on a round podium with a small slit produced a chip for a return pickup. I turned to watch. The platform moved and parked it 3 stories in mid-air around a few others of near equal its size. There wasn't a place like this in the entire galaxy. I loved it as much as it hated me. Everyone here at the very least knows someone I fucked up, fucked over, or fucked good. The rest of the walk to my place of business was rather enjoyable. My business is the 100%. The only thing I really have going for me. I hate people. People hate me. My own mother has me blocked and ends her recorded voicemail with, "If this is Leroy, don't wait for the beep, loser." Mom. So what makes people who hate you still want to do business with you? Having a 100% success rate, which I do. I like to stand dead center of the walkway carved from cave rock that leads to my office, with my hands on my hips, chin in the air, and looking at the flickering 100% sign that I don't give a dying puppy to fix. Home, bitches. Only 1 foot and lash past the threshold and... Hey, stupid! I just got off the phone with Frankie. Says the ship you came back with has some pussy float with a squatter's turd. Where's the Upen High Lord 6200, Leroy? My secretary, Yana. Man, she was mean-mugging me like she owned the place. Hold up, Yana. Where do you... I began. I do the finances around here, Dick. The Upen High Lord 6200 costs more than you're getting paid this time around. And Frankie wants the difference and is making threats. Come on. Fuck Frankie. He's a douche. We'll pay him when we're good and ready. Anyway, that's what I didn't come home empty-handed. I tossed one of the alien smut snap drives onto her cluttered phony desk. I call it phony because she literally has 4 different phones on her desk. One might be a lamp, I don't know, and I'm not asking. She picked it up and opened her mouth to say something. I held up a hand to her. Just plug it in, will you? She did. I waited to enjoy her reaction, but was left wanting. Her stone face never gave a twitch. 3 minutes passed. If anything, she looked like she was watching treaty talks between planetary federations. You have realized you're watching tentacle porn. What? She looked up at me, her face finally giving way to her raised eyebrow and a sideways jaw. You thought this was porn? Yeah, I said, and I came to stand behind her and look over her shoulder. I pointed at the screen. Look, that one is rubbing his rubbery things all over that one's rubbery things. And listen to the snorting. Sexy, right? This is a soap opera, and those are Norcaneses. They're blind and deaf. The rubbing appendages are extra sensitive nerve receptors. They communicate through touch. The snorting is a translation for the Burkineses, the sibling species that shares their planet. Really? Why would someone be smuggling these? I was getting a little confused. You probably stole a transport vessel taking all the footage to be edited or aired or something. Shit. I killed the pilot thinking he was a dirty smuggler. You know, he had the look. She looked at me, her expression softer and more lighthearted inside. See, this is why no one likes you, Leroy. Because I stereotype? No, she replied. Because you go around fucking killing people. Hope you enjoyed my story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notifications key so you'll be here for more content. Hope you're already asleep and you didn't even hear any of that.